All right, so this want to welcome everybody back, and thanks to anybody that checked out lesson number one. It wasn't as perfect as I would have liked it to been, but I'm going to go ahead and correct that right now. So I want to kind of give you an overview of what I'm trying to do. Um, what I want to do is show you gesture first, and I could probably do a representation of a person, such as this. And I know it just looks like a goofy stick figure because that's what it is. And we could talk about gesture and gesture lines. But the one thing that I really want to get into before I start doing any sort of gesture um, is talk about the torso, because the torso is going to the torso is going to give you some landmarks that you can kind of go off of, and that'll help you a lot better when you're doing a gesture figure. So let's talk about the torso a little bit again, and I'm going to go into more in depth on this. No, I'm not going to save that. Okay. So as I was explaining, if anybody watched the first one, the concept of two circles. Now with these two circles, I know you've seen this before, and you've probably even have seen some variation of the bean shape. What that comes down to is that this is representing the trunk. This is representing part of the human body. We can always we're going to add the head on later. And if right now, if it bothers you, just put a circle up here. It's just going to be an idea of a head. We're not going to be too worried about dimensions. I'm not worried about the size of it at this point. I just really want to go ahead and get this concept down. These are going to be measurements. So if we divide this in half, now instead of putting the belly button right here, we're going to go up just a little bit. So essentially what I want to do is almost at the center of this figure right here. We're going to call that the belly button. Now the top of right here is going to be, this is going to represent where the collarbone is at. And right now I just want to throw a line there. Doesn't have to be perfect or anything. So right in the middle of here, you can even go down a little bit, just as long as you're up in the general area. Put a line through there. That's going to represent the bottom of the chest. Now, if we go right here, we can see that we're half, like right here, from this line, from the belly button down to the end of the crotch area, right about in the center. We're going to make a line. And when you make this line, make it curved. Try to make your lines curved, because the human body is a series of curves. We're not robots. So as you can see, this is going to be the chest area. This is going to be where the trunk starts. This is going to be right about where your belly button is. But I do want you to kind of get into the habit, for the purposes of what I'm about to teach you, to draw with these curves. Because eventually we're going to take this area right here, and we're going to turn this into trunks, more or less. And so when I start to teach you gesture, because if you're looking at the 8 heads high, as I explained before, that's fine. But what if the character is bent this way? And here's the chest, here's the head, and they're arched over this way because maybe they're holding a sword, or maybe they're holding a gun, to that effect. And by the way, you can see I'm still adjusting things. That's going to be maybe in the next lesson or the one after that. I don't want, when you're doing gestures, they don't have to be perfect. That's a big misconception, that when you're sketching, that it has to be perfect. When you're sketching, what you're doing is sketching out ideas. And so right here with this, going back to this bean shape right here, well, we kind of know that these are just two circles put together. So if the middle of it is going to be about the belly button, right here, the middle of that, it's still going to be the chest. And right down here, from the belly button to the crotch again, you're going to find where I guess the trunk is. Or not the trunk, but I guess if you're wearing swimming trunks, where your briefs are. So think of these as a pair of briefs. And this also goes to if you're doing a side view. Now, the reason why I'm drawing this at an angle is because that's how the body is going to be at an angle. It's not like this when you're drawing it from the side. It's going to be at an angle. Not even quite a 45-degree angle, but well, maybe it is a 45-degree angle. A little bit less than that. And the bottom, you are also, think of it as it's going to have a tilt to it as well. And so this is what you're getting when you're looking at it from the side. So if we put the head on, now notice how I'm curving the neck up. And actually it's supposed to be much more of a fluid because that's the way that the spine goes. And just we're going to put like a representation of the head. I'll get into all that later on. But right now we're just going to do that for the head. And just to also let you know, as you can see, I'm kind of dividing this in half. Right behind this line, right about here, that's where your arms are going to sit. So if you've noticed, we got this and we got this because your pelvis is going to be tilted to the front because you want to make sure that it's pretty much doing this. And I know you guys have probably seen this where this is that's the same thing as this. And I'm trying to use examples from anatomy books that I know everybody has taken a look at. Because a lot of times when let's say that you've gotten anatomy books, but you don't know quite how they fit into the puzzle of anatomy, because you can sit there and, like I said, draw 8 heads high all you want. That's fine. But if you're trying to turn this character in 3D space, trying to measure everything 8 heads high gets kind of difficult. Now, if we're talking about this area from the back, you see that this is like this. Now, if you notice, I got this line right here because I'm showing that the character is facing this way. And so when we put the head on, then we can see that this character is going this way, and it's round. It's rounded off facing this way. And then, of course, you put the shoulders on, so you kind of get a good idea of where we're going with this. And this is, I believe the correct pronunciation is the bootay. So this is your posterior area right here. And if we're doing it the other way, let me clean up this a little bit. As you can see, I'm not really editing this all that much because I want to keep this to where you can see that I'm drawing this in real time. I don't want to interrupt anything with music or anything like that. Maybe later on I might do that. I've had a suggestion to do that, and I think it's not a bad idea. But for right now, I just want to keep this as moving as possible. So if you noticed, I move this over here to show that this character is now facing this way. And again, we're looking at it like this. And so this is where this character, yes, I know this does not look as pretty as I would like for it to look. So let me darken in some of these areas right here. And of course, we would draw the shoulders on this way. Or right now, I'm just putting a representation of the shoulder. And so at this stage of your drawing, what a lot of artists that I see aren't quite sure of is how to have a workflow. Whether you're doing comics or whether you're just doing an illustration, you need to set aside. You should try to create a workflow. So I guess what I want to do with my channel is, first of all, give you some basics so that you can go on and be able to draw whatever it is that you want to do, no matter if it's manga or if you're, like I said, if you're doing illustrations. If you just want to get your ideas down and say you want to be able to sketch something out. If I'm thinking of an idea, I don't want this idea to go away. So what I want to do is really get this idea down as quickly as possible. And let's see, I don't know, maybe I just want this character and I want to give this character some armor. Putting in my lines right here. I know that I want this character to have some kind of armor on him or her. Well, it's his. right here. So all I want to do is just get this down. What I'm trying to do right now is to get these ideas down. And I'll get into a little bit of what I use for design later on. And so I'm just trying to draw this out really quickly because I think I'm running out of time. But the point is that if I want to do a character design and I just want to mock up a really quick body, because at this point I am nowhere near concerned about being accurate with anatomy, as you could tell by this. So right now I don't care about that, because the only thing I want to really do at this point, if I was doing character design, is maybe put some armor on, maybe put a breastplate, maybe give this character some shoulder pads. And I just really want to get the idea down. And so I'm drawing this armor. It's really whack looking armor. But you kind of get what I'm saying right here. And is this perfect? Absolutely not. Of course, I'd have to go back and fix this area because this doesn't even look like anything. But at this point, it's more important for me to tell an artist to keep going forward, because you can always go back and correct the anatomy. You can correct your mistakes. All this stuff can be corrected. And so if it's not perfect, I'm not worried about it being perfect, because when you're doing your thumbnails, and that's what this is a thumbnail, you just want enough information down to represent the idea that you're talking about. So hopefully this video won't cut off, and I will see you in the next lesson as we go a little bit more in depth with the torso.